Hi everyone, this is a review of our last lesson, and this week we did something new. I handed out a packet that looks like this. It's called String Gym, and I'm asking students to hang on to this, to keep this, because we're going to be using it through the end of the year. So tuck it right into your lesson book, and that way you'll always have it with you. String Gym is a collection of etudes or little exercises that each have a specific purpose to them. And I love the name String Gym. You can think about we go to the gym to do exercise and to get stronger, and we study String Gym to play exercises that make us stronger musicians. And there's a few ways that it does that. First of all, like I said, every etude or every exercise introduces something new or has a specific purpose to it. The other thing is that not in the first 6 that we're looking at today, but in the future, sometimes the violins might have something in their music that the violas don't have. They have it different, or the cellos have something different. So that's preparing us for next year when we're in an orchestra setting where violins and violas and cellos and bass all have a different part of music. It is tough sometimes to hold your own, play your own part, and not be influenced by what you hear the other sections playing. And even in the case of like these 6 that we're working on today, there is a student part and a teacher part. And so the teacher part is always different, and it's a really great practice to have the students play their part along with the teacher part, to get to have that feel of playing with a different part. So one thing that I would encourage you to do as you're practicing is that I have posted little videos, or about 1.5 minutes each, and they each contain 4 of the exercises from String Gym. So the first video is exercise 1 through 4, the next one is exercise 5 through 8, and so you can go through and play those, and it has your part, but it also has the other student parts and the teacher part. And so that would be a really great way to practice these so that you know what they're supposed to sound like, not just your part, but all of the parts together. But let's take a look at these. Like I said, we're doing the first 6, and actually the first 6 are all open string etudes, so they're focusing on what we're doing with our right hand, our bowing, or maybe we're plucking different rhythms, and so we don't so much have to focus on our left hand yet, and that's okay. I think we found that it was a nice break from some of the note stuff we were doing, and it gave us a chance to really focus on our bowing. So let's take a look at number 1. First of all, you see they're all 2 lines, they're all 8 measures. And these are all whole notes, and we have not encountered whole notes in our lesson book yet, but most students were familiar with these from their music class. A whole note is a 4-beat note, so it's a very long note. And you can also see above the first note it says P-I-Z-Z. That is the abbreviation for pizzicato, which means plucking. So we're going to pluck this one. Before we do that, let's go through, just make sure we're on the same page and read the notes. So the first note is D. Remember, they're all open strings. Then another D, then A, next line, D, D, G. This might look unfamiliar to some students. We did it at the beginning of the year, but haven't really looked at it since October. And the final note is D. Okay, so each of those we're going to pluck and hold for 4 beats. Here is etude number 1. Okay, so 1, 2, here we go. D, two, three, four, A, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. And with the 6 that we're doing today, they're really covering a lot of the basics. This is a great opportunity for students to practice getting things perfect, because sometimes we do things that are a challenge, that are a little bit harder, and that's okay if things aren't perfect, if you make a mistake. But these 6, every student by next week should be able to come back and play them perfectly. So challenge yourself to practice these to the point where you're really, really comfortable with them and can play them perfectly. Moving down to etude 2, bowing and listening to whole notes. So now you can see the music looks identical except for one thing, and that is that the music says arco over it, A-R-C-O. That means you're going to use your bow. So now instead of plucking for 4 beats, you're going to hold a long 4-beat note for each of those whole notes. You'll also notice there are bowing directions, so we're just going simple back and forth from down and up. So the first note will be down, 2, 3, 4, then up, 2, 3, 4. You're never going to lift the bow off the string. We'll deal with that later. Some students wanted to lift their bow up in between. Don't do that. It'll tell you when they want you to do that, okay? So just keeping the bow on the string the whole time. So I'm going to set my bow on the D string. This is a great exercise in keeping your bow on one string, not hitting any neighbor strings, which I know is tough for beginners. So here we go. Exercise number 2. 1, 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now A. 3, 4. Back to D. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, G. And D. 2, 3, 4. Awesome. All right. Exercise 3, whole note rests. Again, there's a new thing here. So it seemed like this week, almost every single etude, every single exercise, when we got to it, had something new to us, which is really a good way to learn things quickly. Every single one, we're just adding one new thing, and that new thing didn't seem to throw students off very much. We just said, okay, let's add that into what we know and deal with it. So this one now has whole note or whole rests, which when you think of a whole note that is 4 beats, a whole rest is 4 beats of rest, okay? There are some directions in here that you won't ever see written into your music, but they're writing it as a reminder, and I think it's important for us to look at it. Let me just clear off what came on my screen here. There we go. Important for us to read these directions, understand them, and then eventually you'll be able to do it intuitively. But the first thing that you're going to do is a D whole note. That's easy. 2, 3, 4. Then it says wait at the tip. So they're saying don't do a retake, that's coming later, but wait at the tip for those 4 beats. And what I would encourage you to do, and think that this is the best use of your time while you're resting, is to rotate your bow to the next string you're going to be playing. So after the D, you rest for 4 beats and you play an A. So you should rotate your bow to the A. So that way you're ready to play the A. After you play the A, it says wait at the frog. Frog is the word that we use for this part of the bow. I know it's kind of a silly word, but that's what they mean when they say frog. Okay, so then you're waiting here, and you can see your next note is D. Okay, and then you play a D. They didn't write it, but obviously they want you to wait at the tip and rotate to G. That's your next note. And then D. So let's do this in time, in rhythm, and following the directions that they've given us. This is number 3. So 1, 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now wait at the tip and turn to A. 2. Now wait at the frog and turn to D. Okay, we're at the tip, turn to G, here we go. 2, 3, 2. Awesome. So hopefully you're catching on to one that these are all open strings. It's all more or less the same pattern of what strings you're playing. They're just throwing in different bowings and different rhythms to challenge you to look at those things. And I think most students, like I said, picked it up pretty quickly. If you're still having a hard time, you can watch through this video again, watch through me playing them, go through them slowly with me, or you can go to those string gym play-along videos and watch for your instrument, find your instrument and watch your part. And that'll give you a good idea of what your part should sound like too. Moving on to number 4. So now we have quarter notes, which we have seen before, whole notes, which we just dealt with, and the new thing on number 4 is half notes. Again, we had not gotten to half notes in the lesson book. It actually is the next thing we were about to get to, but fortunately, almost every student remembered doing these in music class. So a half note is a 2-beat note. So we did the whole notes where it was 1, 2, 3, 4. Half notes are just 1, 2, 1, 2, okay? If you're having a hard time with this, we actually went through and read the notes in rhythm. So we went D, 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 A, 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 A. You could even kind of air bow along as you're doing that to just help you get the feel for it. But I'm going to play through this one, number 4, okay? And listen if you have to, if you're still not sure how those half notes work. If not, you can play with me. So starting on D, 1, 2, here we go. D, and G, D. Awesome. All right, moving on. 5 and 6 on the next page. Number 5 has added in 2 things. First of all, you can see by the title, it's called half note rest. Half note is 2 beats, so a half rest is 2 beats of rest. But this is where we've added in retakes. We briefly talked about retakes earlier this year. I knew they were going to be coming up here, so we didn't spend a ton of time on them. But a retake is when you have just played a down bow, and then the music says that you need to play another down bow. So you're not really in a place if your bow is here to play another down bow. So you're going to pick your bow up and bring it back down to do another down bow. And you can see they have marked all 3 spots where they would like you to do a retake. In the future, in future music, you will not see the words retake in parentheses. They've added that as a help. But the little apostrophe is the symbol that means retake. Normally in beginner music, it happens over a rest. Sometimes it'll happen in between 2 notes and you just have to do it really fast. But you actually are going to have 2 beats to do your retakes on this, on number 5. Okay? So we're going to play this. Make sure you get the retake at the right time. I had some students who tried to do the retake after the 4 quarter notes. They tried to do D, 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 retake, D, half note. But it's actually after the D half note that you do the retake. Okay? So here's number 5. 1, 2, here we go. Retake to A. Retake to D. Retake to G. Awesome. All right, finally, Etude 6. We did, in most lesson groups, run out of time to do this one. And so I knew it had a lot of familiar things, and so I left students to do this on their own, but I will go over it right now. You can see it's all the same notes, the same exact pattern as the previous 5, but now they've added in a quarter rest. So when we play this, we're going to play D, stop our bow, D, stop our bow, and then D, D. So when we have the rest in between the notes, the bow stops, but when you have the 2 half notes, the bow keeps moving the whole time. That's the key to number 6. Okay? So let's play that one together. Bow on the D string, and 1, 2, here we go. D, rest, rest. Now A, rest, rest. So those are exercises 1 through 6 of String Gym. Like I said, make sure you can play these perfectly for next time. And if you would like the added challenge, you can go on and play with the play-along videos to hear what they sound like with that teacher part. But in class next week, when we go through these and review them, I will play the teacher part with you, and we will keep going, move forward, and do some more of the String Gym exercises. All right, so I'll see you at your next lesson.